Trump's days are numbered. At least, that's what he thinks. He has left detailed plans for J.D. Vance in the event of his death. He seems to think that he may be killed by the Iranian government. So he is concerned that he is not going to live through this. And his instructions to J.D. Vance are to bomb the hell out of them. Bomb them like they've never been bombed before. I'm sure it does not come as a surprise that he is so hated, not only by the Iranian people and the government, but by his own people. Many people in this country hate him at unprecedented levels. It is not just people on the left counting down the days. His own people on the right are tired of him too.
It's a cliche to use the phrase, I'm sick and tired, but I'm sick and tired of hearing MAGA Republicans, and especially Trump, talk about the Biden years as a disaster. Joe Biden, for the record, will go down as one of our great presidents. What's that? You don't believe me? Let me give you the quick summary, and then I'll go into some fleshing out the details. When you, Donnie Trump or MAGA, say Joe Biden's time was a disaster, which part do you mean? Do you mean the strongest job creation numbers in American history? The fastest GDP growth in decades? The largest one-year deficit reduction in history? Ending America's longest war? Taking out the head of Al-Qaeda? My personal favorite, was this a disaster? The biggest infrastructure bill in generations? Was that a disaster? Successfully wrapping up the COVID debacle that Trump left him? Was that a disaster? Or the one that you're probably thinking of right now, inflation. When Joe Biden left office and handed the economy off to Trump, inflation was running at about 2.9%. It's higher than that now. You do understand that, right? Let me put some flesh on those highlights. Regarding job creation, under Biden, the U.S. economy added 5.4 million jobs above the pre-pandemic peak. That's an astonishing achievement. In total, he had the strongest GDP, that's gross domestic product, growth since 1984. Let's talk for a second about the deficit. When Republicans are out of office, they blame Democrats for increasing the deficit. When Republicans are in office, like now, they never mention the deficit. Under Trump, there has been an explosive growth in the U.S. deficit. Under Biden, we saw the largest one-year decrease in the federal budget in all of American history. Joe Biden ended the Afghan war. Yes, it wasn't pretty, but in many ways his hands were tied by agreements that Trump had made. Republicans love to point out how messy it was when America withdrew from Afghanistan. 13 American service members were killed, which ironically is exactly the same as have been killed so far in the Iran war, a needless war. Biden didn't get us into Afghanistan. He got us out. Trump got us into Iran for no good reason. And we can talk about that on another video. Under Biden, we got rid of Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of Al-Qaeda and one of the architects of 9/11. Was that a disaster? As I said, my favorite part was the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which was, and you almost certainly have forgotten, a major investment in roads, bridges, rail, ports, broadband, water systems, airports, and the electric grid. Biden did that. What has Trump done to make your life better? Oh, he's building a ballroom and an arch. You know what Biden wasn't? He wasn't fucking crazy. He followed the laws. He respected everyone. He didn't and still doesn't insult his so-called enemies, the people who disagree with him. Joe Biden never was a great orator. In his last years, yes, he was old and it showed. But he was a man of integrity, of honesty, of actual intelligence, who had the respect in Congress of people on both sides of the aisle.
We have massive breaking news coming out of Florida. A federal judge, Donald Trump's in trouble. Todd Blanchard's in trouble. You're not going to want to miss this. A federal judge has just nullified the $2 billion slush fund that Blanchard and Trump tried to get over to pay the J6 rioters. In layman's terms, the judge just said, yo, I know what you tried to do. You're not going to do it. There is no immunity for you and your family. There is no $2 billion. And not only that, Donald, I'm sending referrals for disbarment for Todd Blanche and all your other attorneys that just tried to get over on me. We know what you tried to do. It's not working. You're exposed. This is Trump's biggest defeat of his presidency, and very quite embarrassing, as Todd Blanche is about to get confirmed this week for his role as the Attorney General. It's not going to happen. Please like, share, and follow this late breaking news as I continue to build this pro-democracy channel.
We have a catastrophic situation in the U.S. military, and as a veteran, I'm going to explain to you how Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are totally responsible. This is actually shocking. So let's look at a few key indicators. So first off, our air and missile defense is totally depleted. Understand, in any modern high-intensity conflict, you need a lot of air defense missiles, and look what they did. Went from 2,330 Patriot missiles before the war to now, what? 760. Guys, this is for the entire planet. Europe, Indo-Pacific, United States. It's all we have. Totally insane. And understand, they built 5,000 of these in total, and they went down to 760. Crazy. And on top of that, somehow the U.S. military is out of money. Now, just think about how insane this is. We have a $1.1 trillion defense budget. They've gotten billions and billions and billions in additional money during Trump's second term. And yet they're having to cut training. They're having to move money around from different departments to another to cover basic expenses. I mean, this is crackhead behavior. And why do you think this is going to happen? Well, I can think of two things. Number one, the fact that the Iran war, a war of choice, totally stupid, and we are losing. It's just an absolute debacle. It was supposed to cost $27 billion, and it's costing, in reality, $132 billion. In addition, perhaps the bigger issue is Pete Hegseth. Remember during his confirmation hearings, there was all this info about how he couldn't run like a small nonprofit, and they're always having financial issues. What do you think was going to happen when you put him in charge of the biggest organization on the planet? Well, it's entirely predictable. And this, I'm telling you, emboldens our adversaries, puts us at risk, and it is completely insane. Like, this is a crisis. Watch. This, on top of everything else that Trump is doing to destabilize the world, could be a key point that changes history for the worse.
Hey, everybody. It's about 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, August 1st. I mean, the midterms are roughly 90 days away. And what did Republicans just spend the last week doing? Sinking us further into war in Iran. They spent an entire day rehashing COVID with Dr. Fauci, and Donald Trump is tanking his own acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche's nomination to become the actual Attorney General for the United States, because Donald Trump won't let go of his insurrectionist compensation fund and his sweetheart tax deal for himself, his family, and his businesses. Immunity from investigations or prosecutions for any tax liability. And so going into the midterms, where grocery prices have gone up by a third, gas prices are through the roof, all of those are about to get worse because of his failed war in Iran. And where's Trump drawing his red line? He's drawing his red line at, I have to be able to give money to people who were convicted of crimes at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. That's the hill he's going to die on. Compensating people who were convicted of crimes at a time when 50% of the people in this country don't have enough money to meet their basic needs. In the hottest country on the planet, according to Donald Trump. I don't think he's trying to lose the midterms on purpose, but one certainly couldn't be faulted for thinking that. I mean, he tweeted last night that he's just going to leave Todd Blanche in as acting Attorney General, and that he wants legislation for his insurrection fund. He now wants it to be established by legislation. He might get that legislation through the House. He's not in a million years ever going to get it through the Senate. But he and Todd Blanche have been saying for weeks that this thing is dead, that this insurrectionist compensation fund is dead. And now he's willing to tank Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General over it. He wants it that badly so that he can pay criminals. He's proven to his army of mouth breathers that he will pardon them, and now he is going to make it so that he will pay them, so that when people break the law on his behalf in 26 elections, 28 elections, they will believe that they will get pardoned and paid. That's his message for the midterms.
Why isn't this guy handcuffed? Why isn't there an arrest warrant for him? How is it that he can sit in that Oval Office and say shit like this and he's still there? And you've got these energy bros standing behind Trump laughing about this.
Question about Iran. You're talking about blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. Much of the civilized world would consider that a war crime. Do you?
I won't respond to that question. Who are you with?
The New York Times.
I figured so. Failing New York Times. Yeah, please.
Right? I won't respond to that question. Who are you with? The reporter asked, much of the civilized world would consider blowing up civilian infrastructure a war crime. And he doesn't want to answer that question. He doesn't want to talk about it because he knows the truth. It is. Point blank. And yet there's no arrest warrant. And yet he's not in cuffs. He is a war criminal just like Bibi. And yes, I'm drenched from walking 3.5 miles on my walking pad.
Stop scrolling. If there's one thing you do today, watch and share this video of every single Trump official and the president himself lying to the American people about vandalism at the reflecting pool. It was all a lie. It was all bullshit.
The vandalism is very real, despite what Tim Walz wants to say. It's an imaginary problem. No, it is not. It's a very real problem.
Reflecting pool is so beautiful. They tried to destroy it. They cut it up with a buck's knife and tried to destroy it.
A lot of people, when this first happened with the pool, didn't believe the president that there was vandalism. Not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case at all. In fact, I was at the reflecting pool yesterday. There not only is a vandalism that is reflected in today's indictment, but there is a cutting of the liner of the pool at the base of the pool for several yards across the pool. And someone was intent on doing incredible damage to the pool.
The contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it
vandalism? Vandalism.
But it peeled off. Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing.
And you're 100% sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, and we've got all the photographs we can see.
They all lied. Every single one of them.
Happy Sunday. It's about 2:30. I'll do a longer video on this later on, but I watched a bunch of clips of this morning's interview that aired on Meet the Press between Kristen Welker and Donald Trump. Apparently they were somewhere rural. They were sitting in a barn full of tractors. But I know that Donald Trump was hitting the road this week to go tell America's farmers in Midwestern states how amazing he is and how much he loves farmers and everything that he's done for farmers. When farm bankruptcies are up 46%, farmer suicides have increased dramatically. They can't buy fertilizer to get the crops in the ground because of the war in Iran and the fertilizer that they need that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. And they also can't afford diesel prices anymore, which have skyrocketed because of that same war. But Kristen Welker, all she did today was ask Donald Trump questions and fact check him and say that he had no evidence for the claims that he was making. He went off on the fact that the 2020 election was stolen again, and that Democrats are pulling the same fraud in California with their election right now because Democrats are all crooked, and the 2020 election was crooked. It was the most crooked election that we've ever had. And as one response, as someone who has lived in California for the last 25 years, the fact that California runs elections and takes weeks, I mean weeks, to count ballots is fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't run elections like that. On top of that, which is not a main concern whatsoever, but that was one of the bases for Donald Trump's claims that California elections were crooked, because it's been 5 or 6 days and we're still counting ballots in California. So you feed into that shit, and Ron DeSantis and a bunch of other Republicans have hopped on that bandwagon too. But the fact that we have a state with 40 million people and the 4th largest economy in the world, and we can't count ballots is a fucking joke. It's an absolute fucking joke. That having been said, Donald Trump's behavior in this interview, which he eventually just got up and stormed out. He just left. He just fucking walked out. There are a couple things there. Donald Trump absolutely fucking despises smart women. He absolutely despises smart women in positions of power or influence, which is what Kristen Welker is as the host of Meet the Press. He hates women more than just about any man I've ever encountered, especially smart women, especially smart black women. There's that. He doesn't behave like this with male journalists. He doesn't. He's trying to win their approval. He didn't give a shit about winning the approval of a female journalist. He just doesn't. But he got up and stormed out, and she just kept asking him for evidence. Where's your evidence? You haven't presented any evidence of any of these claims. And he flew into an absolute rage because he knows he's lying. Because he knows he's been lying about the 2020 election for 6 fucking years. He knew he was lying about it when he started lying about it. But that led to perhaps the happiest moment of Donald Trump's life. The moment where he came as close as someone like him could ever experience anything resembling pure joy. And that moment of pure joy for Donald Trump came on January 6th when he was in the dining room off of the Oval Office watching TV coverage of his dumbass, inbred, idiot, gullible, mouth-breathing, dipshit supporters engaging in violence at the United States Capitol, beating the shit out of police officers on his behalf. People committing violence on his behalf, and him watching that happen, I think was the closest thing that he had ever experienced to like real, pure, actual joy, which tells you everything you need to know about him. He's a fucking scumbag. He's an adjudicated rapist. He's a convicted felon. He's also dying. He's dying right before our very eyes. But his behavior in this interview with Kristen Welker showed a man who is incredibly weak and who knows that he's weak. He understands his level of weakness. That's why the arrogance and the hubris and the cockiness have absolutely skyrocketed, because he knows he's losing his grip on his base. He knows he's losing his grip on his supporters. Those numbers are decreasing. He knows the economy is fucked because of his own actions. Same for gas prices, same for grocery prices. And there's nothing he can do about it. So you witnessed a morbidly obese, caged animal that just devolved into pure weakness and softness simply by a woman sitting across from him saying, "Where's your evidence? You haven't presented any evidence." And he had a complete and total, absolute fucking meltdown. Just an absolute meltdown. Because he can't handle that. He can't handle that. I mean, Kristen Welker stood up to him today more than any elected Republican member of the House or the Senate has in the last decade. And he couldn't take it. and he crumpled like a fucking wet paper bag because he's weak and he knows it.
Oh, breaking news. I literally have to lay down. You pardon a admitted felon, a Chinese crypto billionaire. You pardon him, President Trump. He then sets your sons up with a crypto business. Disgusting, obviously corrupt. The MAGA minions in office who took an oath say nothing. Now you give the UAE, shady, by the way, shady, okay, a preferred trade deal that includes a provision that you're going to give a favorable review to applications that involve semiconductors, okay, the key aspect of the AI economy that we already gave away to Taiwan and we need to reclaim, and now you're given access to the UAE, which includes a firm that you're going to give preferential treatment to that just happened to have used your son's stablecoin to make $1 billion plus investment in another company. The same company owned by the Chinese felon you pardoned, who set your sons up with the business, which makes that stablecoin, which the UA used to invest in them. It even pisses off my dogs. This is so corrupt. It is so corrupt. How is it not corrupt? How is this in any way consistent with draining the swamp? How?